This is an election that I think, frankly, is a fork in the road of destiny. It really is. So, it's essential. So, it's like we need safe cities, secure borders, sensible spending. I mean, basic stuff. And we need to get rid of like the well, yeah, but I mean, it's like I always feel like it's bad to like attack Kamala because she's just a puppet, but it's just, it's just a machine. It's just like this big government machine, and there's a puppet, and it's like no point in attacking the puppet. It's just, it's like I was like. I made a joke that was sort of misconstrued, that it was like, nobody even bothers to try to kill Kamala. That's pointless. Why? Let's get another puppet. So nobody even bothers. Nobody's even tried to kill Biden. It's like, doesn't that seem odd? They're trying to kill Trump twice. Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, if somebody's already dead, what's the point of trying to kill him? So. He's 1 foot and 4 toes in the grave. I mean, I saw Weekend at Bernie's, and honestly, the corpse had more life than Biden. Like, for sure, actually. So, who is even running the country? Like who's in charge? It's confusing. Trump, sure, he will be, hopefully. But I just sort of wonder. Like, clearly Biden is non compos mentis, so who is actually in charge? The machine. I think it's just like the big government machine, basically, is what's in charge. But it's bizarre, So, yeah, I mean, obviously with Trump, the great thing is that we have a real individual who is not beholden to anyone, and that's what scares the machine, and that's why the machine's trying to kill him. Yeah. So. Yeah. Wild times, man. Wild times. I mean, I've had quite a few friends call me and say, you should definitely improve your security. I'm like, that's probably a good idea. I'm like, they're definitely going to try to kill you. I'm like, yeah, that's a good chance. They might try to do that, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. If they shoot, they better not miss. So, I'll find out who was behind them, not just who the gunman was. But it is crazy to think that we have a presidential candidate that they've tried to kill twice in recent months, and they try to get him with lawfare 6 ways to Sunday to try to prevent people from actually voting in a democratic way. It's outrageous, really. What are they afraid of? So, yeah, I think it's kind of the truth. And I'd certainly encourage people, if people haven't seen the conversation between Joe Rogan and Donald Trump, that was super cool. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's like, how do you understand somebody, like, and what they're about? Like the sort of far left press has been going on and on about how, like, Trump is like Hitler, like Mussolini and Stalin combined, and you rolled them all into one, and he's somehow worse than all three of them combined. These are people who have killed tens of millions of people. I'm like, something's wrong with the press, guys. Something is wrong with the press. Journalism is dead. Like, what the heck is going on? It's bizarre. Yeah, actually, exactly. It's like, I mean, I do think like that old school journalism. I call it legacy media because it is kind of legacy media, because it is from a time when, in order to learn any news, you had to aggregate the news to some central publication, and then some editor would decide what people should hear, and then they'd print the newspaper with like a lot of paper, literally, and then distribute that paper, and that's how you learn things. But you obviously don't need that anymore. You've got the internet, so anyone can learn anything at any time. Yeah, that's why X is the future. It's citizen journalism, where you hear from the people, it's by the people, for the people. That's what it's all about. I think this is a super big deal, and it's absolutely fundamental and transformative that the people actually get to decide the news and what the narrative and what matters, and that because the legacy media is basically controlled by a handful of editors-in-chief. That's it. They decide what's going to get published. That's why I really encourage everyone out there to write stuff on the X platform, and other platforms too, but citizen journalism is the future, And that's where you get to hear from actual experts in the field, people who are experts in any given industry, and you get to hear the rebuttal. So if somebody says something that's wrong or requires more context, people can add that. X has got community notes, which is great. So take community notes, I think is got a very good batting average. It's not perfect, but it's got a very good batting average. And I, many times I've gotten requests like, can we get rid of this community note? I'm like, no, we cannot. Not even a community note on myself. So with community notes, all the code is open source, all the data is open source, so you can recreate any given community note independently. And that transparency is how you know that it's true, and it's real, and it's honest. So that's yeah. But I think we've got, besides, man, the mic feedback's getting a little crazy. So maybe should I go further back or further forward? Well, there's an X on the floor. I'm guessing that's where I should stand. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. So. Yeah, the landing the rocket ship was pretty cool. That was an amazing thing. So, yeah, the SpaceX team is an incredible team, and it's wild that this giant 250-ton object went to space, came back, and was caught by giant Megazilla arms. It's like, it's super cool. That's the kind of thing that that I think is inspiring and exciting, and there's a lot of potential. I think we can actually build a permanently occupied science base on the moon. We can build a city on Mars. We can be a multi-planet species, and out there among the stars. It's very exciting, So. I'm wearing this jacket that was given to me by the Space Force. It's got Star Trek Enterprise on it. It's like Starfleet Academy. We want to make Starfleet Academy real, and go out there and visit other star systems eventually and see if there are alien civilizations. Maybe there are alien civilizations that existed for millions of years, and we just find the ruins of many long dead alien civilizations. I don't know. Well, they might be. But it'd be very interesting to see, because, at least according to physics, the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. So even if you just increment the time counter by 1 million years, you have to go 3 digits past decimal place to go, bloop, 1 million years. And the oldest writing that we've discovered in archaeology is only 5,500 years old. That's nothing. That's 1/1,000,000th of Earth's existence. It was the first writing. And you really have to hand it to the ancient Sumerians, by the way. They got a lot of firsts. those ancient Sumerians. They're really knocking it out of the park, frankly. We're just with the clay tablets and everything. It's thankfully they wrote in clay tablets. So it was quite helpful. They've even discovered schoolwork, like where they teach the kids cuneiform on clay tablets, and then there's the teacher correcting the cuneiform in red ink. It's been going on for a while. So here we are, a mere 5,500-year-old civilization, just a baby, really, but with a lot of potential. I think we can go out there, we can make life multiplanetary, understand the universe, find out what's going on. Maybe the aliens will come visit us. Maybe they are here right now. I don't know. So, alien registration card. People do ask me, do I think aliens are among us? I'm like, I haven't seen any. Yeah, there's illegal aliens, but there's a lot of those. But I haven't seen any sort of green aliens with antennas on their head or anything like that. Maybe they are. They're just very subtle, but I haven't seen them. So, but I think we want to be the aliens exploring other galaxies, And I grew up watching Star Trek, and Star Wars was the first movie that I ever saw in a theater, and it obviously affected me a lot. And we just want to have these sort of glorious, amazing, space future real, and have exciting, inspiring things that make you glad to wake up. When you wake up in the morning, you're glad to be alive. There have to be these things. Life cannot, so. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I think we can, you can travel to Mars roughly every 2 years. So every 26 months, the planets align, and you can travel from Earth to Mars. And we're actually at a planetary alignment moment right now, or in the next few months. And so in roughly 2 years, there will be another planetary alignment. And that's when we intend to send the first Starship rockets to Mars. Yeah. So I think we can probably send quite a few in 2 years. And then if those land successfully and we do not increment the crater count in Mars, crater count before and after equals the same, then we can send people in 4 years. Yeah, we will be illegal aliens on Mars, I guess if there's any, if there's any Martians, maybe they'll make Mars great again. Yeah, Mars did have oceans a long time ago. It seems like, like when Mars was a lot hotter, it had a lot, what appears to be liquid oceans, and if you warmed Mars up, it would have an ocean on about 40% of the Earth's of Mars's surface. So Mars would have an ocean, I think, almost like a mile deep on 40% of the surface if you just warmed it up. So there's a massive amount of frozen ice on Mars. So yeah, it is kind of make Mars great again, because you can warm it up and it can be an Earth-like planet. So I think this is actually very important for the long-term, the longevity of consciousness is to be a multi-planet species. It's actually very important. Because there's always some chance that something could happen on Earth that's either a man-made disaster or a natural disaster, like the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. I mean, there have been many mass extinction events in Earth's history, and there will be mass extinction events. Yeah, there is a de facto mass extinction event of humans, actually. The birth rate is plummeting. But the probable lifespan of civilization will be much greater if we are a multi-planet species than if we are a single-planet species. We don't want to be one of those lame one-planet civilizations, is what I'm saying. You know? So we want to be a multi-planet civilization. And I'm not talking about like a lot of resources, but like, I don't know, 1% of our resources seems like a wise move to be a multi-planet species and kind of just ultimately find out what's going on, like visit other star systems. And I think one day, Mars may actually play a role similar to the role that America has played in saving the world. You know, America saved the world 3 times last century. That's a big deal. World War I, II, and the Cold War. So, the Earth would be very different if not for America saving the day 3 times last century. So, yeah, amen indeed. So I think in the future, Mars, they used to call America the New World, and Mars would be the new world, and but actually, planet. So I think one day Mars may save Earth, just as America saved the rest of the world. I think that's a big deal. So. Yeah, as you can tell, I love space and rockets, in case that wasn't obvious. So, well, let's see. We can go right into questions and just sort of have it's always good to have get the discussion going with people. So the lights are very bright in my eyes, so I can't see what's going on. There's 2 big lines. Okay, great. Well, let's see. How should we start? Okay, go ahead. Okay, sure.
Hi, Elon. My name is Ashley, and I'm from Lancaster County. And I have a 7-year-old son named Daniel, and he made me promise that if I got to talk to you, I had to tell you that he thinks that the Cybertruck is the coolest thing that has ever been invented. So he owes me one now for telling you that. But so my question centers around higher education. So I'm going to age myself a little bit, but 20 years ago when I graduated high school, I made the decision not to go to college and just to enter in the workforce. And it worked really well for me, but I did get a lot of slack from people that thought that that was kind of crazy. And now I've seen the attitude toward higher education kind of changing and that not being the only model that we have. So my question's sort of twofold here. So when it comes to my children who will eventually be needing to make that decision, what decision or what advice would you give in comparison to a trade school, higher education, or just entering the workforce? And from an employer standpoint, in 10 to 15 years, what do you think employers are going to be looking for from this next generation that will be entering the workforce?
Sure. Well, I do think that probably too often people do a university or college thing for 4 years, and it's unnecessary. And then they accrue a lot of debt, and it's hard to pay off the debt, and they often don't learn skills that are very useful. So it's not, I think we should really reconsider whether going to college actually makes sense. I think it doesn't always. So, what I think. And people also forget, what's the point of going to school in general? You're supposed to learn useful things. It's you improve your understanding of the world and learn skills that can help you contribute to your fellow human beings. But very often, a university does the opposite, in fact. It will propagandize kids and not teach them anything useful, and just saddle them with a lot of debt. So I think, what really matters is, are you doing something useful to help your fellow human beings? Are you contributing more than you take? And if you are, that's a great thing. So now we are headed into a pretty wild future here with artificial intelligence and robotics. I think, especially if you look, say, 10 years from now or more, that we're going to have the world is going to look very different. I think it's 80% likely to be good, like the glass is 80% full, you know? And most likely we'll have, I think we'll probably have a situation which is universal high income, actually. Not universal basic income, but universal high income. And there will be no shortage of goods and services. That is what I think is most likely to occur. And we need to make sure that this AI is, and these robots are on the side of humanity, you know, obviously. You know, James Cameron made a couple movies about that. You know, you got to watch what you program these robots to do. You know, the example I've used a few times is, you know, when Google Gemini came out, people asked, well, which one's worse, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner or global thermonuclear war? And it said, well, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner is worse. It's like, we've got a problem with this AI. And even Caitlyn Jenner said, yeah, you should definitely misgender me. That's crazy. So, you know, we don't want to have an AI that concludes that the best way to avoid misgendering is to execute all humans, therefore reducing the probability of misgendering to 0 because there are no humans. You know, like, that's the kind of crazy stuff that could potentially happen that we want to avoid, which is why I think we want to have a maximum truth-seeking AI. You know, it's got to be kind of based in a good way, and just be honest and truthful and forthright AI. That's the best path to safety for artificial intelligence. So.
Hi, Elon. I'm Christine. I'm from Lancaster County. I want to extend a heartfelt welcome from all of us in Lancaster County.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do. My question surrounds government and efficiency. What would be your plan to make government more efficient?
Yeah. Well, so I think first of all, in terms of people sometimes ask, like, where would you start with government efficiency? And it's kind of like being in a room where the entire room is targets. And so you can shoot in any direction and not miss. It's like just impossible to miss because every direction is a target. So there's no missed possibility. Now, we do have a fundamental issue, which is that the government is spending far more than it brings in. And the reality is that all government spending is actually taxation. All government spending is taxation. Sometimes people think some of it is taxation and some of it's not, but it's all taxation because the part that is not covered by tax revenue becomes inflation. So you're either taxed directly or you're taxed via inflation, but you're for sure taxed. and so all government spending is taxation. So we have to reduce government spending overall. Like this will be forced upon us in the future because already just the interest payments on the debt are 23% of all federal tax revenue. Just the interest payments. The interest payments now exceed the Defense Department budget, which is $1 trillion a year. That's a lot of money. So just the interest on the debt exceeds what we spend on the military. Just the interest. And that is rising rapidly. So it can't be like, you know, we'll trim a little bit here and there. That's not going to work. There have to be quite radical reductions in cost. Yeah. And I think we just need to be, you know, if, you know, please Lord, Trump wins, you know, and the Department of Government Efficiency happens, we're going to be very open and transparent and be very clear about this is what we're doing. Here are the issues. This is the math for what's being spent and what, you know, and we're going to make it. We're going to make the spending lower, and if somebody's got a better idea for how to make the spending lower, tell us. But if we don't, we're going to bankrupt the country, and so we got to do something, and it's got to be like some pretty big moves. Drain the swamp. Yeah, I'd say like drain the swamps. There's so many swamps. It's like, you know, there's so many swamps. Yeah. I mean, it's just nutty that like there was a massive increase in IRS personnel, and instead of adding people to the Border Patrol, like this is totally backwards. It's like well, like you can continue to remain a federal employee, but you have to go guard the border. That's your new job. You know, it's like why are we spending money and applying resources to oppress the American people while rolling out a red carpet for illegals? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it would have to be pretty big. I mean, I actually have tried Googling it, and I've asked all the AIs, how many government agencies are there? And even the government doesn't know. Okay, and the AIs don't know. Like they're like, well, it's about 450, but maybe it's 420. I'm like, 420, no kidding. That's a lot of agencies, just at the federal level. I mean, like, if you sort of stand back and say, okay, just for a second, like, let's say we're starting the country again. How many agencies do we need? Do we need more than 99? Because that's 99 is a lot of agencies. You know, like, that's still a lot, you know? If you said, like, how many people even know 99 agencies? I'd say practically no one knows the names of 99 agencies, let alone the 420 or whatever there are. Yeah, so we have to unwind the situation, and I think we're going to do it, and it's going to unleash a new era of prosperity, because people don't even realize how much they're getting held back by millions of federal regulations. Millions, literally. So. And if it turns out that we accidentally got rid of a good regulation, we'll just put it back. It's that easy.
Hey, Elon. I'm Dan from Pennsylvania as well. I am a teacher, public school teacher, and I just bought a Tesla this year, and it's been amazing for my 1 hour commute.
Great.
So thank you about that.
Cool.
Additionally,
self-driving?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Pretty cool.
It blows. Like when I go into the teacher parking lot, and I just tried the Summon today.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Everybody's jaws hit the floor. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So, Republicans need to get out the vote. And as the mail-in balloting becomes more common, what can I tell my friends about the safety and security of mail-in ballots?
Yeah.
This election and future elections. And then, real quick also,
Sure.
My daughter is 2. Her name is Isabella. She loves the planets and loves astronomy already. And I want to know what I can, as a teacher, do to help inspire her curiosity for the heavens, the stars.
Sure. Well, let's see. With respect to voting integrity, I think probably the best thing to do is to hand it in person. But you can also mail it in, and you can check to see whether your ballot has been received. So it is possible to check online or in person to see if your ballot has been received. But I would encourage people to vote early, because what can happen is that, November 5th comes around, and there's like, you got something critical at work, or there's like a family emergency, or, there's, some mysterious cybersecurity event that you never know might happen. So, anything can crop up on November 5th, whether it's personal or there could be some other issue. So it is best to vote early. Now, it is very encouraging to see the early vote numbers, because if you compare the early vote numbers this year to 2020, there's about I think the last numbers I saw, it's like a 200,000 to 300,000 voter difference from 2020. That's major. Because I think it was like an 80,000 vote threshold last time. So Biden won-ish by 80,000 votes. That was the number that was reported. But the interesting thing is that the delta for early votes is now 200, I think, maybe approaching 250 or even 300,000 better than 2020, which is far in excess of the margin of 2020. So Pennsylvania is trending in the right direction. It's very encouraging. But there's still a lot of work to do, and we don't want to be complacent. So definitely get everyone you know to vote. And as I mentioned earlier, people can actually go in person on Monday and Tuesday if they're concerned about putting anything in the mail. And they can actually get their ballot. Like, even if they don't have their ballot, they can literally go to the county office, get the ballot, even though it says absentee, and then hand it in, even though you're not absent. It's weird. But it works. But it stops working on Wednesday, and then the next opportunity is November 5th. So it's kind of quirky, but those are the current rules. And then, let's see, with respect to your daughter, and I think in order to inspire, like, kids are inspired by real amazing imagery. Like, they see something amazing, they see a rocket taking off, a rocket landing, or robots walking around, or like cool things, like the stuff that you see in sci-fi movies. And when they see stuff like that, they're inspired automatically. They're inspired because there are real advancements in technology, and that's that's what inspires kids, because it should. Like, kids are like a great filter for what's awesome. Like, you can tell, like, if a little kid reacts like, "Wow, that's amazing," and that's real, So, like, kids love the Cybertruck, and they love rockets, and that's because they have no filter. They just say they immediately say what they think, So, yeah. So it's great new rocket technology that allows us to, like I said, go there and have a permanent science station on the moon. Not just, like, it's great that we went to the moon 50 plus years ago, but we want to go to the moon and actually have a science base. Like, we've got a science base in Antarctica. Well, we should have a science base on the moon, and we should be building a city on Mars. And I actually think it's the long-term future of civilization, I think, could be decided by whether or not we build a self-sustaining city on Mars. And if we do, that is a city that would have millions of people, and it would be like, if anybody wants to go to Mars, they could. And that would be an incredibly exciting, inspiring thing to aspire to go to Mars. Be like, wow, let's make that real.
Let's bring her to Mars.
Yes, let's bring her to Mars. Yeah, if she thinks like, wow, one day I could go to Mars, and be one of the Martians, and that would be super awesome, I think. It's wild. It takes 6 months, actually, when you go from Earth to Mars. You're just traveling across this void of nothingness for hundreds of millions of miles until eventually you reach another planet. It's kind of incredible to think that that's even possible. And how amazing would that be? It'd be like, wow. I think that we want to have a future where life is multiplanetary, where we're advancing rocket technology, and like I said, where Star Trek, Starfleet Academy is real. And that's what will inspire your daughter.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Elon. My name is Lauren from Pennsylvania. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you're doing, and congratulations with SpaceX. You and your whole team are absolutely brilliant. I have two specific questions for you, but I was curious because I looked all over on X today, and I didn't see anybody who won the $1 million prize. Was
yes.
that given out today?
Well, let's see. We are going to give it out tonight, in fact. So should we go ahead and do it? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Good timing. All right. Judy Kimura. Yeah. Judy has no idea, by the way. She's just loading now. So. I think Judy's on her way here. Like I said, Judy had learned when you learned. All right. Oh, thank you. All right. Woo-hoo. I mean, we're trying to get attention for this very important petition to support the Constitution, and it's like if we we need the right to free speech, we need the right to bear arms. Otherwise, there is no right to free speech, and. Yeah, and it's people sort of wonder what's up with the $1 million prizes. I'm like, well, we needed to get the legacy media to talk about it, and I just knew that they would be like complaining like hell about it. That like for sure complaining on every newspaper and every TV station are complaining like crazy, and I was like, great, that's going to get the word out. Most welcome. All right.
Can you say hi to my son, Caden and
Yes.
Kaylee?
Hi, Caden and Kaylee. Hi. All right. So we're going to be giving out $1 million every day through November 5th. And all you have to do is sign the petition in support of the First and Second Amendment. That's it. You don't even have to vote. It would be nice if you voted, but you don't have to. And that to support basically sign something you already believe in, and you get a chance to win $1 million every day from now through the election. Yeah.
Congratulations, Judy. Let me know if you want to share. Two specific questions for you, Elon. One regarding your concern about the declining birth rate.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is. Besides us as women having more and more children, and since we're the only ones who can give birth,
Yes.
what would you...
I mean, you do need a womb. Without it, you need a womb is necessary. Otherwise, you can't have kids currently.
It is necessary.
Yes.
What would be your solution? Would you be in favor of creating or supporting an IVF surrogacy program to increase the birth rates? And my second question is about what would you recommend toward the first steps on improving our American educational system? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like I think we should really view the birth rate as like a extremely fundamental crisis. Like it's really shocking how low it is. The birth rate in America, in the United States, has been below replacement rate since I was born, roughly around 1971 or so. Since then, America has been below replacement rate. And pretty much every country, it seems as soon as they reach a certain level of prosperity, the birth rate drops below replacement. And then I started looking into, well, has this happened before in history? And in fact, it has. It's in basically every civilization in the past. It's maybe counterintuitive, but the more prosperous that a civilization becomes, the lower the birth rate. So it's because you think, well, with prosperity, you'd have more resources, then you'd have more kids. Actually, no. The historical fact is that the longer that a civilization has been prosperous, the worse its birth rate got. And this was an issue even in ancient Rome. Like in 50 BC, there's like, actually, we still have like the Roman laws that were written. They passed laws to try to improve the birth rate of Roman citizens in 50 BC. So, like basically, this is a fundamental civilizational challenge that has been encountered many times before. It's not something that just happened recently. it's occurred throughout the cycle of civilizations. And I hope we can at least partly reverse it. And I think part of that is at least bringing it to conscious awareness. Because I meet many people who think that there are too many humans on Earth. But this is not true. There aren't enough humans on Earth. In fact, you can fit all the humans on Earth in the city of New York on one floor. Okay, so, or like if you fly across the country and you look down and say, if you had to drop a ball on someone's head, would you succeed? And you would not, because the density of people is very low. There are actually very few people on Earth. It's only if you live in a very dense city environment that it seems that there are many people, that Earth is densely populated. But it is only densely populated in like 0.1% of the surface area. So I at least want to bring it to conscious awareness so people don't think that Earth is overpopulated, when in fact, Earth is underpopulated. That is the truth. Yeah, well, Bill Gates and I are not best friends, to say the least. So, I don't know. He is, I think there's, you can arguably say, like, look, that maybe the real distinction is not right or left, but is someone an expansionist or an extinctionist? So, he has some issues, this is true. But like if you say like any given civilization, it's not going to be exactly steady. So it's like so any given civilization is either going to be growing or declining. And so you have to say, you can kind of divide any person's actions into, are they expansionist or extinctionist? And I mean, obviously I'm super expansionist oriented, because I think that's a far more exciting future than going extinct. Sounds obvious when you say it like that. So it's just, but I still run into a lot of people who think Earth is overpopulated. So I'm like kind of hammering this point. We're not overpopulated, we're underpopulated. And, so I'm in favor of really, we need to have babies by whatever means, whether it's IVF, surrogacy, whatever the case may be. That can certainly help. But we just can't go extinct. Like, with humans need to, I think humanity is great, and we should get bigger. We want to expand. I think we should expand the scope and scale of consciousness so we can better understand the nature of the universe. I mean, that's the foundation of my philosophy. Make babies great again. Yeah, make babies great again. Yes. So, yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Ressler, and I live in Lancaster, PA. I'm a teacher here. I've been following you because of your work with World Literacy, with X Prize, as I was a participant in Barbara Bush X Prize with an app development called Literacy Speedway. But my passion is turning, because since COVID, every day in the trenches in the classroom, I see the effects of mental health on our students. Not only students, but I've seen 2 of my brothers commit suicide.
What?
I've seen my own daughter who wasn't able to get a bed in a facility and had to wait months. I have seen what's happened to American families because of the mental health crisis and the lack of resources. Our mental health system in America is broken. And so even though I have a passion for world literacy and always will, I also would like to ask you, because I know of your collaboration, your contacts with the election, with what the new administration can possibly do. What can you guys do to fix our broken mental health system in America?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts and suggestions. I mean, my sort of observation is that we overprescribe medication. There's a lot of regulation, in fact, too much regulation about getting any given medication approved, but then after it's approved, there's no follow-up to see, hey, did we make a mistake? And then you get things that are approved, and they just go hog wild, and it's causing a lot of damage, but there's not really a good revocation capability. So it doesn't make sense. Like, there are good drugs that are not being approved, and there are bad drugs that have been approved. This is a broken system. We need to fix it. I think very often when somebody has committed suicide, or if they've essentially if something as bad has happened, like, what were they prescribed? That is an important thing. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I do have thoughts on it. I feel like in the brick and mortar school, in the educational setting, not only do the states, because I know it's education is state dictated, even though there's national Common Core curriculum, that there needs to be mental health services embedded into every school at this juncture. There also needs to be facilities in every state, not a 6-month wait to see a psychiatrist, as in Pennsylvania at times, or 12 months to get a bed in a mental facility. The asylums, unfortunately, weren't the fix years ago in America because they were horrible. But when they were taken away, authority went to the states, federal money was taken away, and now you have outpatient services, and there's a lack of prescribers, there's a lack of counselors, there's a need for more. And every day, our prison system right now is housing half almost, and I could give you the data they're not there because they're criminals. They're there because they have mental health issues, and it needs fixed. Okay.
Are there any particular medications you think should be pulled from the market or added to the market?
I believe that every child, when they're diagnosed with a mental health condition, should have, there is a test for it. There's some kind of tongue test that can dictate which medications will work and won't work for you. However, you have to ask as a parent for that test. And I can guarantee from my experience in this with parents working in the school district or just from friends and other associates, most people aren't even aware of it because it's not paid for insurance. And most Americans can't afford it. So when things aren't covered under your insurance, they're not given, like a doctor isn't going to prescribe that is done. So you have to have the self-awareness and knowledge to go and have that testing done. And most people, unfortunately, just don't know it even exists.
Okay, all right. Well, I think this is definitely and it's something that we need to figure out better. There's clearly, I agree with you that there's a mental health issue, and I think we need to look at, like, what drugs actually work and what are the side effects, and some of them I think some of them are pretty sketch, frankly, that some of the drugs that are prescribed. Some of the stories I've heard about some of the psychiatric meds from people are pretty bad. Like, it's like the reason they wanted, in some cases, the reason they wanted to commit suicide is when they took the drugs, not when they didn't take the drugs. You know. People do need to believe in something. Yeah, so, I think they're probably nature abhors a vacuum. So if there is, there's certainly a strong argument that the decline in religion has led to people seeking a new religion, essentially a secular religion. So that is, wokeism is essentially a secular religion, but it's believed very fervently. So, yeah.
False preachers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a strong argument for church. I agree. So. Well, that's true. All right. Well, let's see. So.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Janelle. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I wanted to actually first thank you, and probably behalf on everyone here, to thank you for creating the PAC and the referral opportunity. I think everyone here is grateful. I saw it as a way to support 2 amendments that I actually care about and don't want to see go away. And secondly, I saw it as a way that if I could refer my friends, family, and everyone that I could go, I could earn some extra money.
Yeah.
My husband and I are actually self-funding our own fertility journey. I've got some unexplained infertility. And so that money is going to actually pay our bill next month.
Right.
And I've always wanted to become a mom, and I have a dream to be a mom, and I know one day it will happen. I'm drawn to your population concerns. I don't know if you've talked to President Trump, but I would love to know if you would consider PAC or advocating a grant for fertility to make Americans like myself be able to afford it and have a baby.
Yeah. Well, I'm super pro baby, so yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm super pro baby, so yes. Absolutely.
Hey, Elon. My name is Furman Jones, and I just wanted to start out and say I really believe in you.
Thank you.
And I know everybody in here believes in you for one reason or another. And I'm super thankful to even get to ask you a question. But anyways, I also believe in the Constitution, and I also believe in the Bible. And that's what I'm going to ask you about.
Sure.
The Bible says that nobody's perfect, and there's no perfect form of government on this earth because greed is inevitable. It's like Churchill says that democracy is the worst form of government except for all the other types.
Right.
But the one government that the Bible does say is perfect is the kingdom of God. And Isaiah 33:22 says, "The Lord is our judge, the Lord is our king, and the Lord is our lawmaker."
Yeah.
So I feel like so much of your worldview aligns with biblical principles, and we need Christians to vote and see that that communism is the greatest manifestation of evil and greed. And so, yeah, that's my question. How do we get Christians to vote? And if you have time, what keeps you from believing in the Bible or being more vocal about it? So,
yeah, well, it is interesting that actually I was told that a surprisingly small percentage of evangelicals, of people that are really strong believers, actually, it's quite a small percentage that votes. I thought, and I hope. Yeah, well, this is what I was told anyway. But I certainly hope more people, more Christians vote. That would be great. Please do. Yeah, I mean, I was brought up Christian and went to actually somewhat strangely went to Sunday school, and also I was sent to a Hebrew preschool. I'm not Jewish, but I don't know. It's just still, I think it was in the neighborhood or something, So I was like, Haba Nagila one day, Jesus is our Lord the next. And I was like, great. I certainly, I believe in the teachings of Christ. I believe, that he's I believe in the Christian principles. Love thy neighbor. I believe in turn the other cheek, which is very important to have forgiveness. Because if you don't have forgiveness, then you have an endless cycle of retribution. I used to think, why would you turn the other cheek? That's ridiculous. Just punch him. And I think you do need to actually be strong. You can't be weak, because if you're facing sort of a predatory threat, and that threat is stronger than you, and that threat doesn't believe in Christian values, then you will just get executed. I mean, I don't know, but at a certain point, once you are strong, you should forgive the transgressions of others. And this is obviously not something they believe in the Middle East, which is why there's this endless cycle of violence. So I really think that, we should love thy neighbor, and we should forgive, and we should be kind and gentle. So, yeah. I believe in what Jesus. I believe in what Jesus said. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Hello, Elon Musk. My name is Grant Noggle. Hi, family. It's really, really good to meet you. My first question was, do you have an answer to life, the universe, and everything?
Well, the classic answer is 42. And 420 is just 10 42s. Interesting.
But my real question,
yes.
Sorry, my
Go
real
ahead.
question would be, what is the most useful, most powerful piece of advice you have ever received?
The most useful piece of advice. Well, that's a tough one. Yes, indeed. Vote Republican. It's yeah. I mean, this is maybe going to sound like I believe in well, if you study physics, if you study, I just recommend studying physics. You know, and the tools of physics, of the sort of the thinking tools, that it's not just a bunch of what matters is not remembering a bunch of formulas. What matters is the thinking process that led to the discovery of those formulas. It's sort of critical thinking, first principles analysis, trying to understand what is true at a most fundamental level, and then reasoning up from there and testing your conclusions against the most fundamental truths in any given arena. This is how you can figure out whether something is more likely to be true or not. And I think it's good to think in terms of probabilities. So you receive information about a subject, that should change the probability of your conclusion, but not the certainty of your conclusion. Like, so in physics, teaches you that you should not be 100% certain about any given prediction. Now, there's some things that are highly likely, but physics teaches you've got to assign a probability to something being true, and then as you learn more information, your original conclusion may be wrong, and then you should then change your mind based on the new information. I mean, you can think of intelligence kind of as just how good is I think probably the right metric for intelligence is the ability to predict the future. If you can predict the future well, then you're as intelligent as you can predict the future well. Because if somebody claims, well, this person or this AI is very intelligent, like, well, how good are its predictions? And if its predictions are not very good, it's not that smart. So that's I think the key nature of intelligence. And if you're trying to decide what to do in the future, it comes down to predicting the future. And to predict the future, you have to think critically about the past, and constantly try to be less wrong. So maybe that would be right up there in terms of best advice. Aspire to be less wrong.
Hi, Elon.
Yes.
First off, thank you so much for having us here today. We always appreciate that we have somebody in your level of influence that can listen to regular people and kind of get our voices heard. And it's also not every day that a person gets to meet their hero and ask them a question. So my main question is, since COVID, the current administration has really put a struggle with small businesses. And especially here in PA, we've seen a large decline in both the foundation of small business and I've personally known several small businesses that have had to close due to increasing regulation, taxes, you name it.
Exactly. It's the burden of excess regulation is very severe, and it crushes a lot of small companies, and it makes big companies operate much less efficiently.
So how do you think that we as small business owners and non-small business owners can fight against this? And also, what can you do as a former small business owner that you can kind of fight for us?
Well, I mean, to your point, I think a dramatic reduction in government spending and government overregulation, like I call it, sort of America is getting sort of strangulation by overregulation, will unleash a new era of prosperity. Just allow people to do useful and productive things, and don't make it a 2-year permitting nightmare, which it often is. And then burden small businesses with taxes that make them go bankrupt. So, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, it's kind of mind-blowing that there are over 400 federal agencies governing our lives. Most of them people have never heard of. But they do affect your life, and on balance, negatively. So we just need far fewer agencies and get the government off your back. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mark from Lancaster. Thank you for your time. I'm sure it's the most valuable thing you can give to any organization, so thank you.
Time is the true currency.
Thank you, sir. So my question is, my wife's a naturalized U.S. citizen. She's registered to vote. I banked my vote already. I was just wondering if you'd be willing to talk about, I mean, we did it the right way. We took years and money, and we got her naturalized the right way. If you'd be willing to talk about your experience at all with immigration, and also, other than a secure border, how you see fixing that system.
Yeah, well, since your wife has gone through the process of becoming a citizen and getting a green card, you've seen how absurdly slow and arduous it is. So, I mean, I think that the general principle that makes sense is the same principle that you'd operate a professional sports team on, or a company, which is like, who would you want on your team? And if somebody's going to be productive and honest and a net contributor, and they'd be a great addition to the team, welcome aboard. It should be not a long process, because they'll produce more than they consume. They'll make everyone's lives better. And so we have this bizarre situation, which is like mind-blowing, that it is easier to get into this country as a murderer than as a Nobel laureate. Literally. That's not an exaggeration. Which is like, what? You know, it's like, I mean, it's like if you have the opportunity to say have like, you know, LeBron James or Steph Curry on your team, and you'd be like, yeah, that would make total sense. Our team's going to win. They'll make the whole team better, you know. So we want to actually, we need to have things be what they should, which is that legal immigration of honest, hardworking, talented people is quick and easy, and coming into the country illegally is hard. That's how it should be. Yeah. So honestly, like, okay, I had like kind of a crazy idea. This one's going to hit the press. Which is like, what if we gave a legal immigration job to Chick-fil-A? They are so efficient. They make an amazing chicken sandwich. Their chicken sandwiches are epic, and they make a zillion of them, and they just get it done. I think we should give the immigration job to Chick-fil-A. They'll crush. That's going to be a headline.
Hello, Mr. Musk.
But honestly, it would be great.
Hello, Mr. Musk. It's an honor to meet you. So my question is this, and I ask this as a first-time voter. As we know, Trump did not and has not accepted the results of the 2020 election, one which has been called the most secure in the nation's history by the former president's own Department of Homeland Security. Similarly, I saw the violent disruption of the electoral vote count on the news during January 6th. And I ask this as a first-time voter who wants to discern the truth.
Sure.
What would you say to comfort the concerns of young voters like me who are worried that voting for a second Trump presidency will lead to Democratic backsliding?
Well, I think that's a fair question, honestly. I think it is a fair question. I mean, the thing is that, yeah, like I want to frame this correctly, and obviously anything I say, the legacy media is going to take a soundbite out of what I say and misconstrue what I'm saying, which is something they've done with President Trump many times. It is very important, if you've heard something bad about President Trump, listen to his whole speech. That's actually very important. You know, you know, on January 6th, I mean, his statements on that day, he told people to back down. I mean, he said, do not do violence. And then people were like saying, well, that's actually some sort of dog whistle about doing violence. I'm like, what are you supposed to say? You know, he did actually tell people to not be violent. He recommended that the National Guard be deployed. Nancy Pelosi said no. I don't, so he didn't call for any violence, exactly. And if you look at, like, while it obviously, you know, I think it was, you know, like the level of disruption was high, and I don't applaud any kind of damage to public property, of course. That, you know, but it's, you know, the media tries to characterize January 6th as some sort of violent insurrection, which is simply not the case. I mean, that is false. So, you know, I would take, I think probably what I think is the reasonable middle ground, which is I disagree with the level of protest, but it was in no way a violent insurrection. You know, so that there's got to be a lot of guns for it to be a violent insurrection. And there were a lot of strange things from in terms of voting irregularities that are hard to explain. So, it's, yeah, I mean, there were things that are statistically unlikely, let me put it that way. And so, it's not as though the January 6th protesters their protests had no merit. They had some merit. I disagree with the magnitude of what they did, but but it's not as though there were no issues. There were issues. And we have this weird situation in America where it is almost impossible to prove fraud, because if you've got no voter ID and mail-in ballots, how do you prove fraud? And you know, and it does seem more than a little odd that we don't have voter ID. And then you look at, say, states like California, which is supermajority Democrat, they passed a law banning voter ID in any election whatsoever. Now, how is that supporting democracy? That's not supporting democracy. I mean, that's insane. Almost every country on earth has voter ID requirements, but we don't. Why? And why do the same people that demanded vaccine IDs for you to do anything are the same ones who say no ID for voting? Something doesn't add up. It doesn't add up, you know? So I actually think, I mean, my firm opinion is that those who say Trump is a threat to democracy are themselves the threat to democracy.
Make some noise! Yeah! Woo! Woo! I'll tell you what, that was awesome. Conspiracy was theory, and now it's the truth.
I mean, honestly, you know, at this point, we're running out of conspiracy theories because there's so many of them have come true.
Right.
That we actually need can someone please come up with some new conspiracies?
That the
Because
government's
we've run
here to
out of
help.
them.
The government's.
I mean, even the frogs might be real. You know, the
Yeah.
frog situation might be real. I don't know.
Right. You know, the conspiracy.
The frog
we're the
chemical.
government. We're here to help. You know,
Yeah.
You've probably heard that.
Right, right.
Well, Elon, God bless you. It's very nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.
God bless you too.
My name's Andrew Mariski, Lancaster, PA native.
Yeah.
I'm a small business owner of a barber shop 10 minutes down the street.
Great.
Called Legacy Barbers. Love to cut your hair sometime if you will.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask you a question and also encourage you with these few words. Augustine, who was a theologian and a philosopher, said, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you." And 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14 says, "If my people who are called by my name should humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and heal their land." So I want to encourage you with that, brother.
Yeah. Those are great words. Great words.
Amen.
Amen.
And Elon, I'll tell you what. Been watching you now for a while, hearing the stuff you say. We need more men like you in this country that are not afraid to stand up to the media legacy.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to stand up against people who think we're toxic masculinity. We need more men.
Yeah, you know, I've got a great counter-argument for toxic masculinity, which is, if masculinity is so toxic, how come the kids that are messed up don't have dads? Riddle me that. Riddle me that.
And something that you said earlier, and amen to that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to be a dad February 3rd.
Great. Congratulations.
I'm having a baby. Whoa! Thank you, Lord. But the tweet that you had not too long ago, it said, "And no one is even trying to assassinate Biden or Kamala."
Yeah, because it's pointless.
So
nobody would bother assassinating a puppet.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when are people going to start seeing that our country is not, when they keep saying democracy, it's a constitutional republic? Would you please make sure, if you don't mind, to keep reminding people that we are a republic. We're free. We're free because of Christ Jesus, and we're free because of the men and women who died and shed blood for this country.
That's absolutely, yes. Amen, brother. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I mean, a lot of people died to make this country what it is today. A lot of people died. Absolutely, amen. And, man, people take it for granted, you know? So, yeah. Well, America PAC is kind of the anti-Soros PAC, you know? Something's got to be done about it. So, it's like, you know, I don't know what's up with that guy, but honestly, like, putting DAs in, it's like the Joker's in charge, you know? Yeah. Like, electing DAs that don't prosecute crime is insane. That's like literally like Batman Dark Knight. I mean, like, you know, lock up the citizens and free the criminals. It's insane. It's happening. Yeah. I mean, like, what? This is total madness. So we need to stop that. Yeah. So.
Make America great again.
Yeah. Well, I think America is great, but we want to be greater. And we want to do awesome things. We want to do, and you want to look forward to the future and be inspired and excited about the future. You know, that's what makes life worth living.
Another thing.
Yeah. So. All right.
Have you ever looked into the sport of arm wrestling?
Oh yeah, arm wrestling. I have looked at, not in depth, but I have looked into it, and for a while there, I did like actually read up on it, and actually various techniques for how to win at arm wrestling, which is like a lot of it is, you know, get your angles to, yeah, get your whole body into it and get your angles, so you can actually like if you know the techniques in arm wrestling and somebody doesn't, you can actually win against somebody much bigger. Yeah. Well, yeah. No. No. I mean, I would challenge Biden, but that would be ridiculous. You know, that'd be so unfair. So.
Thank you.
He can use two. What if he uses two hands? Yeah, that'd be fine.
He probably would.
Something, yeah.
Make arm wrestling great again.
Yeah, make arm wrestling great again. Absolutely.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless. All right.
Hi, Elon. My name is Molly. I just want to thank you for spending so much time in Pennsylvania. I think what you're doing is amazing, and it's making a real impact. So God bless you.
Thank you.
And I think
God
you're a
bless you
national
too.
treasure.
Thank you.
My main concern is with the national debt, and I know you talked a lot about reducing the spending side, but I was wondering what kind of Trump policies and industries you think will help grow the revenue side. And along those lines, do you have any plans to bring more Tesla manufacturing back to the U.S.?
Well, Tesla actually is a massive manufacturer in the U.S. In fact, the biggest factory that's been built in recent years is the Tesla factory in Texas. So that's yeah, and then there's another big factory in Nevada. So there's Giga Nevada and Giga Texas, and maybe someday Giga Pennsylvania. So and that would be super cool. I'm a huge believer in manufacturing. I love manufacturing. I like making things. I've spent a lot of time in the factory, walking the floor. I lived in the factory for a while. Literally lived in the factory. It was kind of like Vegas, actually, because I didn't even see the outside. But the lights were always on. But we had some tough times at Tesla. It's really difficult to make any kind of manufacturing company work. You know, yeah, Tesla's actually also the biggest manufacturing employer in California still. But the state is not super grateful. But yeah, I'm big. So we do a ton of manufacturing in the U.S. And we keep investing and increasing our manufacturing activity in the U.S. And SpaceX also is a massive manufacturer. You know, SpaceX is the biggest manufacturer of rockets and satellites in the world. Yeah, so and that's all in the U.S. So SpaceX manufacturing is all in the U.S. And Tesla has massive amounts of manufacturing in the U.S., like giant factories. So I'm a big believer in manufacturing. I do think reform of the tax code would make sense because it's extremely complicated, and there are too many loopholes. You know, I'm often pitched on these loopholes. That's how I know they exist. And I'm like, that sounds pretty shady. I don't think we should do that. They're like, well, lots of other people are getting away with it. Well, like, yeah, but I still don't think we should do it. Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm the largest individual taxpayer in history. So I paid $10 billion in tax, over $10 billion in tax. You're welcome. Like, I sort of thought maybe the IRS would, like, you know, send me like a little trophy or something, you know. Yeah, like one of those, like, doesn't have to be expensive. It could be like, you know, one of those like things you get for when kids win a karate competition, like little plastic gold trophy or something like that, or a cookie or something. But I didn't get anything. It's like, you know, and but I was happy to pay the taxes. I don't mind, you know. Yeah, it's a good week this week. Yeah, the stock market's a wild sort of roller coaster. You know, I think Warren Buffett's got a lot of good sayings, actually, but one of his sayings, I believe, is like, you know, having a publicly traded company is like having someone stand outside your house and yell house prices all day, and it's still the same house. And you're like, why is this person yelling house prices at me all day long? And that's what it's like being in a publicly traded company. It's just, they just yell stock prices at you all day long. And it's like, well, it's actually still pretty much the same company as yesterday. It's kind of weird being in a publicly traded situation. But anyway, I think we should simplify the tax code, get rid of a lot of exceptions and loopholes, and make it easy to fill out taxes. It shouldn't be this like extremely complicated thing. Yeah. But overall, I think like if we have less federal spending, then there's less taxation, and so we have to reduce federal spending. There's no way to make up for it other than reducing the federal spending. And as I mentioned earlier, like a very important point that I think is important for people to understand is that all federal spending is taxation, because what they don't receive, what the federal government doesn't receive in direct revenue, they make up for in inflation. They just print money. So all federal spending is taxation. Very important principle. Almost nobody, very few people seem to, even like, you know, somebody's like spend their life in economics, I'll mention to them, hey, all federal spending is taxation. They're like, first they'll argue with me and they're like, then they will agree. It is. Because it is either direct tax revenue or it is inflation. All federal spending is taxation. So we must reduce federal spending or we will go bankrupt as a country. Right. So, all right.
Hey, Elon. I'm Chadwick from Westchester, Pennsylvania. I met you last week at Harrisburg, and since then I've been prouder than ever to wear my MAGA hat around. Cool. You've really inspired me to wear it more and more.
Right.
And since then I've had my car slashed with a key, which
really?
is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Trump got hit with a bullet in the air, and look at him, he's doing good. So. Yeah, somebody chased me around with a shopping cart one time too as well. But yeah, that happens. That's a part of Westchester, PA.
Well, honestly,
yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's like flying the rebel flag, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for real. MAGA.
It's an adventure. Yeah, I've had some people get mad at me. Like big time.
I do have a question this time, though. I met somebody on X. I do podcasting, and I met somebody on X directly through the platform. I would call him a friend. His name is Derek, and he has something called Spina Bifida. Yeah. It is Spina Bifida month right now, so Spina Bifida Awareness Month. I wanted to put the awareness out there is that it's a spinal. He's born with some spinal kind of like issues, and he's never been able to walk. And
really, never? Wow.
I guess not. According from what I learned, and he hasn't been able to walk like his whole life. So my question is, like, for the disabled community and for people like him, will things like Neuralink help? And also, what will the Trump administration be doing for people who are disabled to help them? Anything?
Well, yeah. So I think there actually are a lot of things that, like medical devices and drugs that could be approved that are sort of stuck in regulatory molasses. Like they're just, you know, it's like trying to get anything new approved is like running in molasses with lead shoes. It's really slow. A good friend of mine was telling me how his mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and the doctor said, like, well, that's pretty much game over, you know. And then he talked to, but he's a very enterprising guy, so he didn't take that for an answer. And he asked every smart person he knew, is there anything that could help cure brain cancer? It turns out there's this drug called Wellirig that was in trials at Harvard, I believe, and it cured his mom's brain cancer. So, you know, I'm like, well, like how many Wellirigs are there out there? Maybe there's a whole bunch of them. And devices and everything, and we should, you know, like I said earlier, it's like we need to expedite approval of drugs, make sure people, you know, that people are properly informed of the pros and the cons, and then there also needs to be some after approval follow-up to say, like, was something approved that shouldn't have been approved, or whether there need to be additional warnings. It's pretty common. It's common sense, I think. You know, but like when you're dealing with the government, like. Common sense doesn't make sense. Like, you know, common sense just bounces off the government like water off a duck's back, you know? I mean, it's like arguing with the DMV. It's impossible.
They put that COVID vaccine in quick, though.
They did put the COVID vaccine in quick. Yeah, that was weird. And they made everyone take it. which is messed up. So I don't think people should be forced to take vaccine unless that against their will. So.
Hi, Elon. My name is Alex Gamble from Lebanon County. I first want to thank you sincerely for what you're doing. I think you're an American patriot.
Thank you.
I really do.
I love America. I really do. I mean, listen. I love America, and like sometimes people say, well, like that's just jingoistic propaganda. I'm like, I don't care. I love the jingoistic propaganda. It's awesome. You know, it's like God bless America. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
With the recent news from Lancaster County discovering 2,500 potentially fraudulent voter registration forms, what's your opinion on mail-in ballots and if we should get rid of them in the future?
Yes.
I also want to...
We should get rid of them in the future. I mean, like, mail-in ballots are a strange anomaly that got popularized during COVID. But really... Like you have an obvious recipe for fraud and an inability to prove fraud if you've got no ID, no voter ID, and you've got mail-in ballots.
Right.
Like you can't even many years ago, a friend of mine was telling me how his dad actually helped improve democracy in Mexico, and it was by organizing a whole bunch of citizens to just stand outside the polling stations or the voting stations with a counter, just to count the number of people that went in. Because obviously, if you have more votes than people, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And it turned out they had a lot more votes than people. They're like, oh, this is a little strange. So anyway, that actually helped fix the situation in Mexico big time. But if you've got mail-in ballots, you can't count. You don't even know what's going on.
I also wanted to ask you a favor. My son is named Elon.
Really?
We named him after you.
Wow, thanks.
He's 3. You're an inspiration, and I was hoping to get an autograph from you to give to him when he's older.
Well,
just to further
I can't say no to that. I mean, from one Elon to another, you know. I was named after my American great-grandfather. I guess so. I'm like kind of the opposite of Obama. I'm from Africa, named after an American. So, but yeah, it was John Elon Haldeman was my great grandfather, and I was named after his middle name. So, I think he was like from Minnesota, I believe. So, yeah.
Hey, Elon.
Yeah.
My name is Jennifer Lucas. As you can tell, I do not have a Pennsylvania accent. But I do live here. I'm voting legally, I promise.
Sure, I believe you.
I'm from southern West Virginia.
Okay.
And honestly, I've had a lot of questions on my mind, from education to drug epidemic. It's hit really hard. But one thing that I would really like to ask you about right now is lobbyists. If I buy a vote, I go to jail. They buy votes on the floor, on the voting floor in D.C., and that's okay.
Right.
That is affecting our voice as American citizens. So what can we do to ban lobbyists in D.C. so we can take our power back?
APAC? Oh, America PAC? Yeah, I mean, you know, so I was actually part of making a movie called Thank You for Smoking. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie. But it's a movie about political corruption and about lobbyists and political corruption. It's worth watching Thank You for Smoking. That was, I'm actually the pilot in the movie in that plane. So it's a very small role. But that movie explores the corruption that exists in D.C. due to all the lobbying that takes place. And the legislation is primarily written by lobbyists, in fact, and then Congress basically rubber stamps what lobbyists write. I think we probably do need to take a look at what rules make sense, because obviously the point of the elected legislators is to legislate in the interest of the people. And so if there's legislation happening, which is often the case, that is not in the interest of the people, something's wrong. And you do get these like regulatory capture situations where the companies in an industry end up controlling the regulators and preventing new entrants from coming into a market, making it difficult for new companies to come in. Anyway, I wanted to make that movie for a reason, which is to highlight that there is a lot of corruption in DC, and we'd like to have less of it, at least. And it's tough. And this is also why I think the big government machine is so against Trump, because he's not beholden to all of these interests, So he's not captured, essentially. He's not a puppet. So the big government machine is very worried about electing someone who's not a puppet. So yeah, I mean, I certainly advocate for better rules that limit the power of companies to lobby in DC, or at the state level for that matter. Yeah, I mean, like for Mars, like people sometimes ask me, like, well, what kind of system of governance do I think makes sense for Mars? And I'm like, well, that's going to be up to the Martians, But I would recommend direct democracy, not representative democracy, where the people vote directly. In the past, before you had like the internet and electronics, you had to have representative democracy because you had to, just like with the legacy media, you had to collect people's opinion by mail or literally by voice or by letters, written with a quill on, and a scroll type of thing, like slow. So you had to have representative democracy. You couldn't have direct democracy. But my recommendation for Mars would be that the people vote directly for anything, and that any given piece of legislation must be short enough to understand. So, like, if it's, not more than 1,000 words, maybe 300, the longer the legislation is, the worse it gets. And we've got legislation that's longer than Lord of the Rings. And, like, nobody's read it,
And really quick, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you're doing. I see you, and I see your heart, and I know that you love humanity, not just America.
I do.
Everything that you do, it shows you care for everyone deeply. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I have a lot of ideas, and if you want to hear them sometime, we can sit down for dinner.
Thank you. All right. Yeah.
Hello, Elon. My name is Stephen Marshall, so I live in Lancaster County. It's nice to meet you. You once said in a job interview that when asked what is your biggest weakness, you said honesty, which I find really interesting. And the guy said, well, that's not a weakness. And what I find fascinating is the way you stand up to anybody and speak your mind. And my question is, there's a cost to telling the truth. There's a cost to being honest.
Yes.
And you're not afraid to pay that
Well,
price.
hopefully it's not, like, fatal,
Yeah, and I think that I'm wondering, like, where that came from in your life, because you're an amazing inspiration with everything.
Yeah, I can totally tell you. So, like, I mean, first of all, like, I think I aspire to be honest, but I'm also sometimes wrong. So obviously, can be right all the time. And I do believe in like, one should stand to be corrected, and. The reason I believe in sort of truth and honesty is because I'm trying to understand the universe. I'm trying to understand reality. You know, we're trying to understand like what's the meaning of life. Like, what are we here for? Like, what's going on? If you don't aspire to truth, if you're not like rigorous about truth and honesty, then you're obviously going to live in a deluded world. You won't understand. You won't understand the nature of reality. You won't understand. So, I'm just curious, and I want to understand the nature of reality. So, and that's requires rigorous adherence to the truth.
If I could also add, thank you. What I find fascinating too is like, you know, for you to stand up and speak the truth about what you feel about Trump, there's so many celebrities that the other side has, and
yeah, that's weird that there's so many celebrities. You know, I'm like, what are they? What's up with that? Yeah, exactly.
You're the only guy with a serious amount of influence that's able to really stand up for Trump, and I really think that, and I know people that are like on the fence that are going to Trump because of you. So I think,
great,
you are making a massive difference in this election, like you single-handedly, and that's an amazing legacy amongst all the other things that you do. So thank you.
Well, I'm trying my best to you know, I'm trying to make as big a difference as possible, yeah. I mean, I do think like we're at a, like I said, a fork in the road of destiny, where you know, like it's not clear to me that there will be elections after this if Trump is not elected, you know. So I mean, there's basically, in my opinion, there's massive voter importation to swing states that is happening right now. If you look at the actual numbers, as reported by the Democrat administration, there are triple-digit increases in the number of illegals in each swing state. It's 240% was the number I saw in Pennsylvania in 3 years. And like that's, you know, if the margin of victory is like, was 80,000 votes last time, well, what happens if you bring in like 300,000 illegals who are beholden to the Democrat machine and get a whole bunch of handouts? And even though they may socially not be in agreement with the Democrats, their first order priority is bringing friends and family into the country, which will be supported by the Democrats, but not by the Republicans. So it's voter importation is what's going on. And it doesn't take much to have the swing states be a permanent deep blue. That's what happened in California. So, like I love Reagan, but he did sign in 1986 an amnesty, that, you know, sort of illegal alien amnesty, that thereafter California, which had been red or a swing state, but primarily red, went blue and then deep blue. And now California passed a law banning voter ID in any election whatsoever, even in a town council. That's what they will do to the whole country. The playbook is obvious because we can just look at what they did in California. They're going to do the same thing in Pennsylvania, same thing in the whole rest of the country, if they can. And Trump is the only chance to have that not be the case. And I'll tell you, it's even because people are like, it's going to be worse in California because the one thing that keeps California from being even more crazy than it currently is that people can move to other states and still be in America. But what if you can't move to any other states? It's going to be way worse in California. So it's profound.
What's your favorite baseball team?
Yankees. Well, sorry, okay, listen. I like the name, okay? It's a great name. Sorry. Ah, what have I done?
Hi, Elon. My name is David, and I am a founder of an e-commerce company here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I appreciate the one thing that you're saying about the IRS being bullying the American citizens. Instead of enforcing our border, we're doing that. And I found one problem being a business owner is I have been the subject of recent harassment by the IRS, and I find that being a huge discouragement to entrepreneurship, which is the American backbone.
Sure.
And I wanted to know what would be one of the #1 things you would recommend to the Trump administration about encouraging entrepreneurship and getting young people especially encouraged into starting small businesses to keep our economy flourishing and to keep creating wonderful things like you have done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really, I think, you know, if we can just get the government off people's backs, then you can get a tremendous amount done. And, you know, it's like just, we're over-regulating 6 ways to Sunday, as you've experienced yourself. And then even when there's like a little bit of success, then the government comes along and takes the money. So it's crazy, you know. So just if the founders of the country could see like where we are now, it'd blow their mind. You know, like there was a revolt against the British. I think it was like a 2% tax on tea, like say a 3% tax on tea. They were like, no way. And now it's like, you know, 40%. I mean, it's just like there's new taxes every day. And there's a lot of hidden taxes that you experience as a small business owner that people don't even realize exist. You know, you sort of come to realize that because the IRS comes after you, but there's a ton of taxes they try to sort of mask from the consumers. So we just need smaller government and allow people to produce useful goods and services for their fellow human beings. Yeah, it's straightforward.
Hi, Elon. My name's Will King. It's nice to meet you. Welcome to Lancaster.
Thank you.
I'm a young mechanical engineer. I'm excited to work on new problems. One of my dreams would be to work for one of your companies, so we'll see where that goes. But the question I have is, what are your thoughts on tariffs, and how do you see tariffs impacting consumer spending or increasing inflation? And what problems need to be solved for U.S. production to reach a scale and efficiency that would match current outsourced production? Like, obviously, it's not a first principles problem. We can do it, but what needs to happen in order for that to?
Well, what are your thoughts on the subject?
So I think what you were touching on before, a lot of government regulation and taxes. Well, taxes, you know, I don't know where we need to go with that. But I think I love your philosophy of surges in employment and going hardcore. You know, I was reading your autobiography your biography the other
biography,
day.
yeah. To be clear, it's a pretty good biography, but it's not actually what I would have written.
Right. But what really stood out to me, I was reading about how you wanted to move the servers from Twitter up to, is it in Oregon? And
well, yeah. Actually, there were 3 data centers, but only 2 were needed.
Right.
I was being told it would take like 9 months to.
Right, and you showed up with your guys, and you were like, "Hey, let's just do this overnight, like Christmas." So I think
Christmas Eve,
cutting down some of those regulations and all this crazy stuff that extends the timeline for a bunch of stuff would really help, and that work ethic. I agree with your 80-hour work week principle and the hardcore.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, but I think the principle is really cool, and I think we should bring that culture and that mindset down to the 40-hour work week or the 50. I do 50, but you know, work-life balance potentially. But I love where you're taking your companies, and it's really cool to see.
Well, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Elon. Nice to see you here tonight. So recently, I was reading an article on Medium where an Italian researcher named Andrea Rossi was able to demonstrate a new technology that he invented that was able to extend the range of an electric vehicle. It was technically like a quadricycle, so a very low-power electric vehicle by 4 times. And after the full test, it had actually increased the battery life of the electric vehicle. And obviously, you know, it's only been demonstrated once. We don't know if this technology could be replicated, but if it was able to be replicated, would you be interested in implementing this kind of technology into your Tesla vehicles and even possibly the Starship?
Well, I wish such a thing were real, but I do not think that such a thing is real. That there is, you know, every industry has a certain amount of BS, but the battery industry, I think, is a candidate for industry with the most amount of BS. So it's just, like electrochemistry is very difficult. In fact, one of the ways that I will test like the intelligence of an AI system is ask it battery electrochemistry questions and rocket questions, and usually comes back with terrible answers. So it's extremely difficult to increase the range, but the range is already sufficient to fully electrify everything on Earth. So, you know, Teslas have over 300 miles of range, and some of them have like 400 miles of range. We could actually make it go further. It's just that that's like an unnecessary amount of battery for most people, because the amount of range that you need in a battery is about the same amount of range that your bladder has, essentially. So, if you start a trip at say 9 a.m., around noon, you want to probably hit the restroom, take a break, you know, have a bite to eat, you know, so you drive for 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, and then charge the car. As long as the car is charged by the time you come back from the bathroom and you know, had lunch or whatever, then long-distance trips are no problem. So we're already there at this point. So, yeah, but there is no magical breakthrough.
Would you also be willing, if other technologies are discovered over the next few years into the near future, would you also be willing to, that theoretically could revolutionize electrical vehicles, space travel, you know, exotic propulsion, exotic energy generation techniques? Are you interested in researching those and potentially funding them and contributing to this kind of research? I do think there is a lot of technology out there that is not really mainstream, that it has potential. Although it's in a very infantile stage, I think there is potential.
I mean, not only, I mean, both Tesla and SpaceX are desperately interested in anything that works. We're not like barring the door. We're like, please, if you got something that works, tell us about it. Unfortunately, it's rarely the case that it actually works, is the issue. You know, for a while there, Tesla, I guess we maybe still do, like we'd rate any given, you know, proposed new technology out of 10, where 10 is incredible, and, you know, 1 is total nonsense, and really nothing got above a 4. So it's just very difficult to do. But and I would encourage anyone to say, prove me wrong, please do that. I would like to be proven wrong. That would be awesome.
Tweet on X.
Yeah, but just compete with Tesla. That sounds like a great. If there's some technology that has much greater range, I would strongly recommend they just kick our ass. You know. Yeah.
Elon, do you believe that Jesus, the Christ, is a real person who was crucified and died and is risen, and that God is Jesus?
What do you mean by a real person?
That he was alive back 2,000 years ago, and he was the guy who was crucified.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I think I do think that's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get into like these, theocratical debates of the Trinity, but I thought, but yeah, I think it's real. So.
Hi, Elon. That feels very weird to say, but
hi.
My name is Chris Michelson. I'm a Lancaster County resident. We're really happy to have you here. Let's go, baby. Thank you, everybody. Look, I, like many of us here, feel that the very construct, the Constitution of our country, is at stake during this election.
I agree.
I'm a firm believer that those who can should, and I just want to say thank you for being one of the very few powerful members outside of the construct who have the balls to stand up here every day and do what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, there's a macho man's here. Look, President Trump has announced that he will appoint you as the head of the Efficiency Commission, right?
Right.
That's obviously a perfect spot for you, given your historical success running lean and exceptionally profitable businesses. One of my big concerns that extends beyond the disarray of our financial constitution here is the technology attacks that have happened on our country. 2021, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack.
Yeah.
2021, Robinhood, 7 million users' data stolen, their money held for ransom. 2023, T-Mobile goes down overnight. Airport attacks, airline attacks. Have you spoken to Trump at all regarding your expertise around cybersecurity? Are you going to have any involvement there? If not, do you know who is, and do you trust them? And I have one more question.
Well, I certainly don't have all the answers here. And I don't want to tempt fate, but like nobody has successfully hacked SpaceX or Starlink. There've been every day there are thousands of attempts to hack Starlink, and no one has succeeded. Again, I don't want to tempt fate here, so this is not a tempt. I'm not saying to hacker groups out there, please hack Starlink. Like, please don't hack Starlink. But thus far, there have been many attempts by individuals and state actors to hack into Starlink, and none of them have been successful. So track record thus far is pretty good. No one has successfully hacked into, yeah, so far so good. You know, don't want to be complacent or anything. No one has hacked into the Tesla mothership, like the Tesla core database. Many people have tried to hack into the Tesla core database. Zero successes. Yeah, I can certainly say, like, now government computers are not super secure because it's the government, you know? So it's like if you say, like, what is an easy thing to hack? I say, well, government computers are an easy thing to hack. So it's not good. No, I agree. That's why I'm like, as a hardcore technology guy, I'm saying we should not have voting machines. We should not have computers because they're too subject to being hacked and it's like they're subject to being hacked by, you know, and the people protecting these machines don't understand technology, and they could easily be bamboozled. So even with the best of intentions. So, but it's really hard to bamboozle paper ballots in person with ID, which is obviously how it should be.
One more thing, just real quick.
Yeah.
We've talked about baseball a couple of times tonight. My brother's handicapped. Ryan, I love you. I'm sorry that you couldn't be here tonight. He's a White Sox fan, and he just wants to know if you would consider buying them and turning them into a reputable business. Thank you.
But I'm a technology guy, so I'm just, you know, I got to pick my battles here. So I just try to make technologies that people find useful. So.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, Elon. My name is Vladimir. I'm an entrepreneur from Reading, Pennsylvania. I came all the way here to see you because I'm not sure if you're going to make it to Reading, Pennsylvania. I couldn't wait. Thank you so much for your contributions to the world. Thank you for Tesla, Neuralink, SpaceX, X. Everything that you're doing is incredible. And thank you for stepping up with your leadership to once again try to take our country back.
Thank you. It's kind of your say.
My question to you is regarding artificial intelligence, probably our greatest invention, hopefully not our last invention.
Yeah.
You were really advocating for basically regulating the advances that we're making on artificial intelligence. How long do you think it would be before we actually reach AGI, or artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence? And are you still up for regulating this amazing invention that we've summoned here?
Yes. I mean, I do think there should be some regulatory oversight for AI. So, yeah. I mean, I kind of view regulators as kind of like the referees in a sports game. You know, whether it's baseball, basketball, any given sport, all the teams want to have referees. So that, you know, the teams don't break the rules and there's fair play. So I think there is a sort of a right number of regulators for any given industry, but there shouldn't be too many or too few. Now there's basically no regulators in AI right now, so it's like having a game with no referees. That's you know, subject to something bad happening. So my recommendation would be to have, have an AI regulatory agency at the federal level. It should be, not heavy-handed. It should be, but there shouldn't be nothing. In contrast, in other industries where there's excess regulation, because these regulatory agencies have just sort of grown over time to the point where there are too many referees on the field. I think the sports analogy makes a lot of sense. Like, you want to have enough referees to have a fair game, but not so many referees that people can't throw a pass on the football field without hitting a ref. That's the situation we got right now. It's like you're trying to run downfield, bam, you just bumping into refs everywhere. So we got to take some corrective action there. So thank you.
Whew. All right. Elon Musk, it's a pleasure to meet you. This should be sponsored by Dr. Scholl's. I don't know how your feet are doing it right now. I just want to say thank you for being here tonight. It's an honor to be here with you. I actually have been waiting for almost a decade to talk with you and ask you a few questions.
All right.
First one, I want to just break right into business. A friend of mine is building the world's brightest light in the world, powered completely by renewable and Tesla solar panels, and we want to know if you'll turn it on for us. It's been cleared, it's in Texas, the FAA approved it. Will you turn it on for us? Potentially.
Possibly.
Okay.
When you say brightest light, like, what do you mean?
Brighter than the Luxor. It'll hit the International Space Station and you can illuminate it at night.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It can light up the whole Grand Canyon as well. That's what the engineers say.
Okay, that's a hell of a light. Okay.
It is.
Sure.
Tesla solar panels too, so.
Okay, great. That sounds good. Cool.
Secondly, we've heard a lot of prayers tonight. I just want to say a quick prayer for you and ask everybody to join me and just put your hands up and let's pray that God protects this man here. He's risking his life, his family, and his future for people here in a country who he believes in. And we believe in you, Elon, and thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing, and we ask God that he protects you and keeps you safe in your journey in protecting us in our country.
Thank you.
Okay, so my real question is, you've done a ton of things. You've literally enabled mankind to live amongst the stars.
Well, not yet, but we're
almost.
We're getting there.
Yes, and I want to nerd out with you all day on this. The NASA has been, touted that the fuel of the stars is hydrogen. I know, before you kill me, you're not a huge fan of hydrogen, and I understand it has its flaws. But we do have some incredible successes, and my question is for you. If I were able to help you and provide you with the right people and resources, would you be down to basically involve yourself with us and help save our planet?
Well, I do have 17 jobs. And with the Department of Government Efficiency, 18. So I have to be cautious about taking on additional responsibility because it's just physically impossible. The biggest source of energy by far is the sun. So nothing even comes close to the sun in terms of energy output. The sun converts over 4 million tons of mass to energy per second, and it's been doing that for a very long time, and will do that for many, many billions of years to come. So one of the ways you can think of the progress of any given civilization is on the Kardashev scale. And so just a simple way of thinking about it is you're Kardashev level 1 if you've harnessed all the power of a planet. You're 2 if you've harnessed all the power of a solar system. And you're 3 if you've harnessed the power of a galaxy. We're very far from 3, it's safe to say, but even from 1. So when you think in Kardashev terms, it becomes very obvious that the sun is overwhelmingly the source of energy, and everything else is tiny potatoes. Tiny, tiny, tiny potatoes. But hey, tiny potatoes are fine for now, but the sun is overwhelmingly the big potato, the humongous potato. So it's really harnessing the power of the sun that will lead us to the stars.
Hi, Elon. Dave from Lancaster County. First, thank you so much for all the insight this evening and
thought-provoking conversation. 2 questions. One, with slightly more than 9 days until the election, what would you recommend as a 30-second pitch to convince somebody not to believe what they're seeing on CBS, NBC, and ABC?
Oh, I've got a great solution for that, which is send them links to videos and information on the X platform. So if they say that, Trump loves Nazis, for example, like, well, actually, here's the whole speech where he categorically condemns Nazis. And yet the Democrats keep claiming that he loves Nazis, even though he specifically said he condemns them in the strongest possible terms. They still perpetuate the fine people hoax. Yes. It's pretty insane. So for any given thing that somebody says, well, Trump is this or that, just send them the actual speech. That's the antidote. Send them what he actually said.
Thank you. And then the second part.
X platform actually has that. So, that's the best way.
Hey, Elon. John Scott, your old classmate from UPenn, says hi.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for a great earnings call on Wednesday.
You're welcome.
My name is Raphael Aziz. I'm a Coptic Orthodox Christian immigrant from Alexandria, Egypt. I have lived through religious persecution before, and I believe that the liberal and the woke movement is a religious persecution today. It is anti-Christian and quite honestly anti-religion. You have posted on X that unless there is more bravery to stand up for what is fair and right, Christianity will perish.
Yeah.
My question to you, Elon Musk, is very simple. Will you stand with the Coptic Christian community, our brothers and sisters, the Catholic and Christians, and the Protestant evangelicals against the liberal movement that is trying to destroy Christianity and religion in America?
Yeah, I mean, I'm against the woke religion is fundamentally an extinctionist belief system. It's an extinctionist belief system, and I think we want to be expansionists. We want to expand to the stars. We want to grow as a civilization. We don't want to go extinct. And so, yeah, I absolutely support the Coptic Christians and like, I mean, really anyone who's like expansionist, who believes in a future that is better than the past, in a future where we grow. I massively support that. So, all right.
Hi, Elon. I'm Jeremy, and I'm from Earth. More specifically, Bowmansville.
Yep.
But my question is...
address 1 astronomical unit.
Can you give some insight into your decision-making process and worldview? I mean, I have a lot of respect for what you've been able to accomplish so far, and you have a huge vision for what you want to accomplish yet. And in that way, there's a crossover between the areas that you're a subject expert in and politics. So if you have some insight into how you make decisions in your worldview, then that enables us all to trust you across a larger amount of issues.
Sure. Well, I'm a big believer in physics, which is like basically if you, like, I mean, I sort of say like, everything else is a recommendation, pretty much. But physics is the law. Like, if you break physics, the rocket will explode, and the car will not work. So you have to adhere to physics in order to make cars that work, and to make rockets that work, in order to make space internet that works. Because if you're wrong, then reality is a very harsh judge. Reality is merciless. If you make a device that doesn't work, that violates physics, it simply doesn't work, and then your rocket blows up and the satellites don't work and the cars break. So you either, if you make technology, you either have a rigorous, you have to, in order to make the technology work, you must have extremely rigorous pursuit of the truth, because otherwise reality will bite you on the ass big time. Yeah. So, all right.
Hi, Elon. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. My name is Justin Henson, also Lancaster County native.
My generation is inheriting a housing shortage, and we're statistically less likely to take blue-collar jobs. Obviously, declining birth rate's been discussed. There's not going to be as many people to even fill blue-collar jobs. What do you think the solution is to the current housing crisis that we're having in this country in terms of pricing? It seems like my generation is getting priced out of homes, but also balancing the equity that people who currently own their homes have, and obviously not wanting to destroy that as well. What do you see there to be a solution to that problem?
Well, I mean, at the risk of being repetitive, I think regulation is strangling progress. I mean, there's so many regulations. You can't even like modify your kitchen or, add something to your house without getting a zillion permits. So, if we reduce regulation, you reduce the cost of new houses. Yeah, I mean, I know there's like many small business owners and builders in this audience and who are listening, and anyone who has tried to build things, whether it's build a house or do anything, build a business, you realize just how much of a government burden there is. It's massive. And there's a state burden as well as a federal burden, but we can at least do something about the federal burden, and then, that's at least we don't have to have like 400 and however many agencies there are. This is so crazy. More I'd like to know if is there. I bet there's not a single member of Congress that can name 200 agencies. I'd be surprised. So. How many agencies do we need? 99? That sounds like a lot. That sounds plenty to cover the bases. How many bases do we need to cover anyway? 99 bases sounds like a lot. So anyway, I think we could just get the government off people's backs would be a big improvement in quality of life and cost of housing and everything else. So, yes.
Elon, what's going on, big dog?
Hey, how's it going?
It's a pleasure to meet you. My name's Nathan. I'm from Columbia. Anyways, so I was gonna ask, how's it feel to be the richest man in the world, and also can I get a picture with you real quick?
Well, we're on TV right now. So I think actually we're both live streaming right now. I think probably to millions of people actually. So yeah. So millions of people. I think millions of people will actually see us. We're now on screen for millions of people. In terms of how does it feel, I mean, it's kind of a strange thing because I guess like I'm still very much like a technologist who, like, I just work a lot, and then my recreational activity is hanging out with friends and family and playing video games, which is, yeah, exactly. I play Diablo or other video games. It's like I don't have like any yachts or holiday homes or anything. So I guess if I was to maybe live a more hedonistic life and had like yachts and islands or something like that, then it would make more. I don't know. Maybe that would be more. I don't know. But that's not my idea of fun though, because I'm like, I'm sitting. If I go and sit on the beach, then I'm like, this is boring. What am I supposed to do now? So I just like building things, and I like being productive and doing useful things and making cool products, and that's it pretty much. I mean, I also do like hanging out with friends and family and stuff, but I'm not like saying how can I sort of build a bigger yacht or anything like that. I don't have a boat or anything like that. So. Of course I still love you. Yeah, of course I still love it. Yeah, you're right. I do have boats. What are you talking for? Yes, there's a boat. SpaceX has these ships that are for the rocket lands on. So I guess technically I do own boats. Yeah. So I stand corrected. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe I should like go sort of sailing around in one of them or something. Yeah. Family and food. Yeah. All right.
Hi, Elon. My name is Bruce. I'm a voter here in Pennsylvania, and it is an honor to meet you. You've been a very strong inspiration for me and my family and all my friends, so God bless you for that.
Thank you.
I have a question right now about Latin America.
Sure.
You've obviously met President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador, who has done an incredible job.
He really
setting
has.
the flow of-
He's a very smart guy.
Oh,
by the way.
absolutely, absolutely.
Like it's like we had a long conversation about many subjects. I think he's a really sharp guy.
Absolutely. So following on that, what would you advocate for in a second Trump administration to incentivize states like Mexico, Ecuador, and others into strengthening their policies on policing and economic opportunities to stem the tide of illegal migration to the U.S. southern border? Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's prosperity in those countries, then I think there would obviously be less of a forcing function for illegal migration. It's pretty tough, I mean, and there's some lessons to be learned there. Like when Chavez came to power in Venezuela, one of the first things he did was take the guns away from people. So he basically banned private gun ownership under the guise of safety. And then Maduro, when he had the election recently, he lost by a landslide and just ignored the election. And then people protested and they got shot. They couldn't defend themselves. That's why you need the Second Amendment. It's a critical thing.